Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. My name is Joel and I'm here to give you today's money code fix. And you can just look at the video title and the thumbnail to know what we're going to be talking about. In today's video, we're going to be discussing step by step how to buy a home efficiently without all of the headache. So typically on this channel, we talk about things like how to repair our credit, how to build positive trade lines, how to make our credit profile as strong as possible in order to get things like being able to buy a house if you're an entrepreneur looking for financing to be able to fund your entrepreneurial endeavors. So that's why this video is very important. We talk about all of the how-tos about our credit, but let's talk about actually taking our credit score, taking our credit profile and using it so that it's working for us, because just having a good credit score means nothing if we can't use it for our benefit. So what makes me qualified to be able to have this conversation with you, to have this discussion with you? Over 10 years, I've been a licensed agent in the state of Georgia. And for the last 4 years, I've been a licensed real estate instructor as well in the state of Georgia. And I've seen a lot of different transactions. Primarily, I've been the listing agent for probably over 80-90% of all of my real estate transactions, meaning I've represented the seller side on most of my career, and most of my dealings in real estate has been on the side of the seller. So I kind of have a different vantage point, and I think I can give you some perspective as it pertains to getting yourself ready as a buyer and to be able to position yourself out there as a serious borrower, because I've seen a lot of mistakes. I've seen a lot of things that didn't make sense, and I've seen deals go under contract and then fall apart. So let's start at the very beginning. If you as a buyer are looking to buy a house, I would highly recommend that this isn't a process that you just decide one day to wake up and think that next week you're going to be looking at houses. I want you to take at least 6 months, if not longer, to really look at the entire big picture. I want you to structure yourself to look as confident, to make your credit profile look as strong, so that when a lender looks at you and they see everything that you've kind of developed over these last several months, they're going to take you seriously. You're going to get the best interest rates. You're going to be able to structure your purchase offers in a way that separates you from other borrowers who don't have all their ducks in a row. If you take the necessary steps early on, the second half is going to be a lot easier, and trust me on that. So first things first, your credit profile. I need for you, if you haven't already done so, either go to annualcreditreport.com and I want you to pull your Experian, your TransUnion, and your Equifax. I want to see all three of your credit reports in front of you. And I also want you to go to myfico.com to get your credit scores as well. I want you to see where you stand up. You would be surprised how many people go into model homes, go into new home communities, and have no idea what's on their credit profile, and they go in front of an agent and a lender inside of a model home in order to realize what's on their credit profile, and then they get embarrassed. Do not do that. I want you to do this ahead of time. Annualcreditreport.com, myFICO. Get all three of your credit reports, and I want you to dissect it. There are things I want you to pay attention to. What are the things that I want you to pay attention to? I want you to look at, number one, your positive trade lines. What kind of accounts do you have on your credit profile right now? If the only thing you have on your credit profile is a Macy's card, a Victoria's Secret card, and maybe like an auto loan, you have a thin credit profile. That's what a lender is going to call it. You have a thin profile, which means you basically have nothing to show. You want to position yourself as a serious borrower. So if you have a thin credit profile, the easiest thing that you could do is I want you to go to your local credit union. If you're able to get into Navy Federal, thumbs up for that. If you can't, there are tons of different credit unions in your area. Go to them, check out Bank of America, check out Wells Fargo. I want you to go to the big establishments, and I want you to open up 2 secured credit cards. It really doesn't matter, whichever one's closest to you. I want you to have a major bank financial institution to be able to give you a secured card. It really doesn't matter what the amount is, as long as you're able to show positive payment history. There's a whole bunch of content that's on my YouTube channel that talks about keeping your utilization rate very low. You don't want to get a credit card and then always have it maxed out at the end of every month. That makes you look like you need money and that you're not financially savvy. Keep your utilization rates low. If you want more information on how to manage your credit cards, I have tons of information on my YouTube channel that will teach you how to do that. The next thing I want you to pay attention to are the derogatory accounts that are on your credit profile. This means things like late payments that you have on your account. This means collections that you have. This means charge-offs that you have. Anything that is a negative remark or a bad remark that's on your credit profile, I want you to take at least several months ahead of time. This is why I'm telling you, this is not an overnight process. Start early, lay the groundwork, and at the end is going to be a breeze for you. Try and work on cleaning up your credit profile as best as you can. If you need help with this, I've created a free cheat sheet guide. The link is down below, creditcodes.com. I created an 11-page cheat sheet that actually shows you how to dispute with the credit bureaus, how to dispute with debt collection agencies, how to position yourself to clean up your credit profile as much as possible. We want a combination of positive trade lines, positive payment history, and then we want to take as many of those derogatory items and we want to get rid of them as much as possible, again, to make you look as strong as possible in the eyes of the lender. Make sure that you go to the website that I mentioned before. Do not use Credit Karma because Credit Karma uses a Vantage score. They don't use FICO. Lenders use FICO. Most of them don't use Vantage. So the scores that you're going to be seeing from places like a Credit Karma aren't going to be the official numbers that the lender and the bank is going to see. I had to throw that in there because sometimes people do get confused on the numbers that they see on the reports. So at this point, you've pulled your credit profile, you know what's on your credit report, you know the positive trade lines that you have reporting. If you don't, you went ahead and you got some secured cards. You started to clean up the baddies, the derogatory items that are on your account. The next thing I want you to pay attention to, because the lender will look at this, is currently, do you have a consistent work history? Meaning, do you have a solid 2 years of steady employment? Lenders want to make sure that you look as strong and responsible as possible. So they're going to look at your work history. They're going to look at your bank statements, the last several months of your bank statements. If you don't have anything to show, meaning it doesn't really look like you're able to handle a mortgage payment, these are things that are going to be strikes against you. And also, if you are somebody that is 1099 or if you're self-employed, a lot of times we're told to try to write off as much as possible for tax purposes. The catch-22 with that is the more that you write off for tax purposes, the less that you have to use to qualify for the mortgage. So you have to keep that in mind. Maybe the year before that you plan on getting a home loan, you may have to write off less in taxes, pay more in taxes, but now you actually have a stronger income source to show the lender to get your home loan. All right, so those are the foundational items that you need to keep in the back of your head. Hopefully you're going to be doing those things and you're going to be strengthening all those areas. All right, so now that the foundational items are taken care of, you actually know where you stand, you know your FICO score, you're getting your credit reports cleaned up. The next thing I want you to pay attention to are the types of loans that you're able to get in the home loan process. Now, if you are military, you may be able to qualify for something that's called the VA loan. It really is only for military. It's 100% financing. It's pretty straightforward. Another type of loan that you may see and you may be able to get qualified for is something that's called the USDA loan. So depending on where you're planning on moving, if you're planning on moving somewhere that's kind of in like the rural area, it's not in a tight metropolitan city like a downtown area, you may be able to apply and qualify for a USDA type of loan. And that's also 100% financing. And the reason why they offer this is that certain parts of the country, certain parts of your state, if they want to stimulate growth in that area, they're going to allow people to have 100% financing, meaning they're going to try to make it as easy as possible to be able to get a loan and move out there. Because if they're able to get more people to move out into that area is going to naturally grow. More businesses are going to be established. More schools are going to pop up. More businesses, more churches. So they're trying to drive people to areas that need more development, and that is called the USDA loan. The next type of loan that you may want to consider when you try to qualify for a home loan is something called an FHA loan. Now, back in the day, the main and the most popular type of loan out there was the conventional loan. And I'll talk about that in a second. But what the government wanted to do, they wanted to foster more home ownership among Americans. So they wanted more people to be able to own a home. So they created something that's called an FHA type of loan. And the major benefit and the major distinction between an FHA type of loan and a conventional type of loan, and these are the main two loans that you're probably going to have to decide which one to get, and the lender is going to help you with that. The FHA type of loan, typically all you need is 3.5% down. as a down payment in order to qualify for this loan. So what does that mean in real terms? If you're looking to buy a house that costs $100,000, all you need is $3,500 to be able to qualify for that home loan. Back in your grandparents' days, they had to have a substantial amount, 20% or more, to put down in the home loan in order to get a house. That was the traditional way. But through FHA, all you need is 3.5%. But here's the trade-off, because you know there's always pros and cons to everything. So the trade-off is FHA is going to require you to pay a 1.75% premium fee that they're going to tack on to your loan. And they're also going to make you pay something called mortgage insurance. So now what is mortgage insurance? So here's the scenario. If a lender is looking at you and they're saying, okay, we'll help you out. You don't need to bring up a whole bunch of money as a down payment. We'll let you have this $100,000 home for $3,500. We'll do that for you, but you're kind of risky. If you decide to leave the country, or if you decide to just abandon the property, that's a lot of headache for us. You don't even have a lot of skin in the game. It's not like you saved up for 20 years in order to buy this home. Here's what we're going to do. We'll allow you to only put down 3.5%, but we're going to add on this mortgage insurance. We're going to put that inside of the loan as well. That fee is not going to go towards your principal. It's not going to go towards your interest. This is just a fee to protect us, the lender. That way, if you do foreclose, that way, if something does go crazy, that insurance is there to protect the lender. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the house for 5, 10, 15 years. As long as you have an FHA loan, you're always going to be paying that mortgage insurance, which to me is kind of annoying, because if I'm paying any dollar, I want that to be going towards my interest and principal, because I want to build up as much equity as fast as possible. Now let's contrast that with a conventional loan. Why would you get a conventional loan over FHA? Again, a lender is going to break this down a lot more clearly in detail than I am in a YouTube video. But essentially, in order to qualify for a conventional loan, you're going to need a bigger down payment, and your credit score typically needs to be a little bit stronger. For an FHA type of loan, I've seen FHA loans get approved for people as low as 580. You can literally be in the 500s and get an FHA type of loan. For a conventional loan, they want you to be a little bit stronger. But in exchange for you having a better credit score, in exchange for you having a larger down payment, you don't have to pay that funding fee. And once you've built up enough equity into that home, under a conventional loan, they'll remove that PMI and you don't have to pay for that anymore. So for conventional loans, you need a stronger credit score to be able to qualify for a conventional loan. It's a little bit more stringent when it comes to conventional loans. You need a stronger credit score, you need a bigger down payment, but overall, in my opinion, you'll likely be saving money long term over the course of the loan. The FHA, you can get qualified for as low as 580. They are a little bit more forgiving to be able to qualify for this type of loan. But if you do opt to get an FHA loan, even though it's easier to get, there are more fees associated with this long term. And this is the perfect segue to the next point, which is you need to get an all-star team. The first person that you need to actually get in contact with and actually put on your team is the lender. So now here is the step where I think some people go off and they make the wrong decision. If you pick the wrong all-star team, if you got the wrong people around you, it's going to make the decisions, it's going to make the transaction 10 times harder than it needs to be. What I want you to do is I want you to interview several lenders. You can ask some family members or friends or maybe church members or whoever is in your inner circle who's closed deals before, who's bought homes before. If they would recommend you a lender, you can do research online, but I want you to contact at least 3 lenders. Get a feel for their personality. You're going to be talking to your loan officer at least 2, maybe even 3 times a week, especially when things really ramp up in the home buying process. If you call a lender and they have a dismissive attitude, or you're not really getting a certain type of attention that you would want, they're not answering your questions in the way that you are comfortable with, it's all right. You don't need to let them run your credit. You don't need to give them any information. Call the next lender until you find somebody that kind of understand what your needs are. They are in support of your vision. They're in support of what your long-term goals are. Once you find that person, stick with them and keep in constant communication. That is the key phrase of this segment, is communication. Don't rely on your realtor to make all the communications. Once you have your lender, once you have your loan officer, they need to be your best friend for the next 30, 45 days, or however long it takes for you to get the deal done. So once you get that lender, I want you to give them all the information that they ask for. Do not wait for your lender to try to chase you down in order to give them the necessary documents and information that they need. If they ask for bank statements, give them the bank statements. If they ask for tax returns, give them tax returns. If whatever your lender asks for, just give it to them quickly. Don't let anyone chase you down. Your goal is to get a pre-approval letter in your hand, not a pre-qualification letter. You want a pre-approval letter, meaning the lender has already started to do a lot of the background research. They've already pulled your credit. They already confirmed your income. They've already kind of looked at your credit profile, and now they have issued you a pre-approval letter, which means now you're stamped. Now, if you decide to go to an open house, or if you decide to call a realtor and place an offer, now you have something called a pre-approval letter that you can attach to your offer. And that means you are serious. Now you're going to be respected when it's time for you to place an offer. All right, so let me emphasize that again. Do not call any realtor. Do not go to any open house. Do not place any offers if you have not gone to your lender and received your pre-approval letter in your hand. You will be wasting your time and you will embarrass yourself. Do these steps in the right order. Once you have your pre-approval letter in hand and you've done everything up until this point, now I want you to call a realtor. And I don't want you to call any realtor. I don't want you to call Cousin Ray Ray because he's licensed. The same way that you interviewed different lenders, I want you to interview different brokers or different realtors. And here's why. You wouldn't go to a podiatrist to check your heart. You wouldn't go to a cardiologist to check your foot. You want to go to a specialist who actually does this day in and day out. So how does that relate to real estate? If you are looking to buy a home in a particular zip code or in a particular school district, I want you to find the agent or the broker that does a lot of business in that area. They're going to have pocket listings, or they're going to have information about houses that haven't hit the market yet. They're going to know if there's a power plant that's in the process of being built in the next few years. They're going to be able to provide you so much different information that you're not going to be able to find out just by checking Zillow or checking the internet. Having a good realtor, they're going to give you so many gems and so many tips if you pick the right realtor. Also, there are some realtors that specialize in new home construction. They know all of the deals. They know everything when it comes to new homes. There are other realtors that know everything in a certain zip code or in a certain market when it comes to investment property. There are other realtors that are masters, and there are specialists when it comes to condominiums or townhomes in a certain area. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. You want to pick somebody that is an expert with the type of property that is your dream home. Even if that means just driving around the neighborhood, that's your dream neighborhood, and paying attention to the different listing signs that you see in the front yard. If month after month you're seeing the same face on all of these for sale signs, Joe Schmo Realty or Joe Schmo Broker, if you're seeing his face pop up all over the place, he's probably the person you want to reach out to, or maybe go to his office and just have a conversation and say, hey, I noticed that you actually have quite a few listings in this neighborhood. Do you have another listing coming up? I'm actually looking to buy in this neighborhood, and really start to get some rapport there. Do that with a few realtors, and just like with the lender, go with the realtor that is actually looking to support you. Go with the realtor that's actually looking to answer your questions and provide some advice for you. Many times these same realtors may actually live in the area. They have so much wealth of information to have. Take your time and pick the right team. You want an all-star lender and you want an all-star realtor to be on your team to advise you every step of the way. Now, here's something that I have to mention because I don't hear this a lot, especially on YouTube. If you find a realtor that is attentive, that is answering your questions, that is being a support for you, they may go ahead and ask you to sign a buyer's brokerage agreement, which basically means there is a documentation that means you have selected this realtor to be your representative when it comes to buying the home. Here's why this is important, and this is me just being very candid with you. Realtors only get paid on commission. So if you call a realtor and you take the next 2 months or 3 months or however long it takes for you to find your dream home, and you are driving from city to city, they're showing you different properties, they're showing you different communities, and you find your dream home And then your cousin Ray Ray calls you and says, oh, you found a home? I'm a licensed agent. Let me be your agent instead and forget about that other guy. And you decide to cut out that first agent that's been kind of taking care of you. Stuff like that happens, and you want to have integrity when you do this game. You want to have integrity when you are looking for a home. If you find a lender, if you find a realtor that is taking care of you, take care of them. There's nothing wrong with signing a buyer's brokerage agreement. Many times you can cancel that agreement without any hassle or headache. It's a formality. If somebody is doing a good job for you, make sure to look out for them as well. This industry can be very cutthroat. It can be very shady. Keep those people close to you that are supporting you. You don't want that bad energy. You don't want that bad karma anyway. So I had to slide that in there. So once you have that rock star agent, I'm not talking about cousin Ray Ray. Once you have that rock star agent, I want you to have a conversation with him and I want you to communicate. Again, the key word is going to be communication. The same goes for the lender, goes for the realtor. What do I want you to communicate with your realtor? I want you to tell your realtor the comfortable sales price that you're looking for. Remember, because we started with the lender first, on that pre-approval letter, the lender should have had a conversation with you saying, based off of your income, based off your credit score, based off all these factors, I think a comfortable position or a comfortable sales price would be $250,000. Here you go. You have a pre-approval letter that you can buy a house up to $250,000. I want you to go to your realtor and say, hey, this is what my lender is saying. I can go up to $250,000. That doesn't mean that you have to spend exactly $250,000, but you can go up to $250,000 and communicate to your realtor, hey, I want to be in this school district. This is the top priority for me. I want to have a backyard. I want to be 8 miles or less from my job because that's super important to me. I want a short commute. I want you to detail everything that are the deal breakers, like the major things that you need in a home. And then I also want you to communicate to the agent the things that you would like to have. Things that if you found in a home that you would really like, but if you didn't have, they're not a deal breaker. It's, it is what it is. Communicate all of that with your realtor and they're going to put you on an MLS drip, meaning they're going to put you into the MLS. They're going to put all of the information, the sales price, the city, the zip code, the school district, everything that you have told them. And every time a house comes on the market, you're going to get an email that has basically your custom settings. Now, I want you to use this time to go see as many properties as you possibly can. Sometimes people think that they need 4,000 square feet when really 2,500 would suffice. Or maybe they thought they needed a big backyard, but really they found a beautiful home that didn't really have that large lot space, but it still works for them. Go see as many properties as possible and then communicate everything with your realtor. Let them know what it is that you like and what you don't like. Keep the lines of communication open at all times. After a few weeks, you're likely going to find a property that you do like, that you, your spouse, your family, you're like, this is the one. At that point in time, I want you to sit down with your realtor and I want them to go over the terms of the sales contract. In the terms of the sales contract, this is where you're going to decide how much you're going to offer for the home. You're going to determine how much earnest money you're going to put along with the offer. This is you saying, hey, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, placing an offer on this home, and I'm putting $2,000 of my money to say that I mean business. Here, seller, I want you to consider my offer. And if I flake out or if I decide to run away in the middle of the deal, you get to keep my $2,000. That's earnest money. That number is negotiable. The more you put up, the better you look in the eyes of the seller. FYI. Your realtor is going to go over the due diligence period, your inspection period, your financing contingency. There's a lot that goes into the purchase of a home, but you don't have to get bogged down with all that right now. Just make sure that your realtor takes the time, especially the first go around, goes line by line and explains to you what the due diligence period means, if you want to add certain special stipulations to the property. So let's say that there's a contingency and you're going to offer full price for this home, but you want the seller to do X, Y, and Z to the house before closing. Everything is negotiable in real estate. And this is where I see people mess up deals. As of this recording, and we're still kind of in like post-COVID, middle COVID, this is a seller's market, which means there are a lot of buyers for one house, meaning the leverage is kind of on the seller's side right now. So you may run into a situation where you're going to offer full asking price. This house is $100,000. I'm going to offer $100,000. The problem is there might be 5 other people that have the same idea as you. So now the seller has 6 offers, you and 5 other families that want that same house, and they're willing to offer the same amount of money. What happens in that situation? Well, the seller has options. The seller may go ahead and accept your offer or accept somebody else's offer just flat out. The seller may counter your offer and say, well, instead of this sales price, I want you to go $5,000 more and we have a deal. Or the seller may do something called highest and best. The seller may say, I'm not going to pick any one of these 6 offers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to allow everybody to go back to the drawing board, and I want them to submit their best offer. I'm going to give everybody 5 days to go back to the lenders, go back to the piggy bank, and offer your best offer. This part tends to frustrate buyers quite often because they see a house, they see it listed for $100,000, they submit that offer for $100,000, and now they're in like a bidding war with other people. It happens. This is the seller's market. What are things that can make you stand out when it comes to other people so that you're selected and not the other people? Well, for one, you can offer more in your sales price offer. You can sit down with your realtor and you can discuss the numbers, and you can ask your realtor, I'm willing to spend $5,000 over asking to get this deal. That's one option. It's also common, at least in Georgia, for buyers to request closing costs from the seller. Here's an area where if you actually saved up, you can actually submit your offer and you cannot request any closing costs from the seller, which means you're going to be able to cover all of your closing costs yourself, and you don't need seller to help with your closing costs. That actually makes you look better in the eyes of the seller. What are some other things? You can include a highest earnest money. You can choose to put in your offer that you're able to close in 21 days as opposed to 30 days or 40 days. If you're able to show the lender that you're able to close quickly on this deal, again, you look better. But the only way that you're able to do that is if you followed the steps in the order that I told you. You contacted the lender, you gave them all of your paperwork, checked your credit, they checked your bank statements. Now they're able to do a fast closing. People who haven't done that and are still in the middle of giving their lender their documents, they're not able to do a fast closing, so you may have the advantage by closing quickly. So the simple fact that you've done your homework ahead of time, that might be the major advantage that you have over somebody that is dragging their feet when their lender is asking them to submit the documentation. So let's say your offer gets accepted. Now you are under contract. Now you have 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. It's all negotiable. Now you have several days to go ahead and inspect the property. And I want you to inspect everything. Make sure your inspector checks the roof. Make sure your inspector checks the HVAC. Make sure your inspector checks the water heater. If it's on septic, make sure you have a comprehensive inspection. And if you don't know any inspectors, this is again why you want to hire a very good realtor, because a very good realtor will be able to give you their Rolodex and say, here are several people that you can call. Once you've completed the inspection, the inspector is going to give you a report that has everything listed out with the property, from biggest to smallest. Unless this is a brand new home, there's always going to be something found on an inspection report. So don't let that scare you off. There's always something. But be realistic when it comes to asking the seller to make repairs or give credits to the home, because I've seen some people literally ask the seller that the doorknob squeaks and then they itemize fixed squeaky doorknob as a part of the contract. Now you're entitled to ask for anything that you want, but if you are nitpicking items to things that you could literally do by going to Home Depot, getting some WD-40 and doing it yourself, don't go back and forth on small items that really aren't worth it. If this is a home that is your dream home, don't let something such as a squeaky doorknob handle be something that delays the closing of your property or even destroy the opportunity of you buying that property. Focus on the major things, not the nitpicky thing. Remember, most sellers want to sell their house just as much as you want to buy the house. Most sellers are either downgrading the house because all the kids are out of the home and they're going to move to Florida, or maybe they're upgrading the house because now their family is getting big. A lot of times sellers have their own reasons for wanting to sell, and there's a reason why the seller wants to sell their home. So many times they will work with you, but be realistic when it comes to asking for repairs or asking for credits. Don't have a list of 5 pages worth of things that you want the seller to do, and 80% of those things are knick-knack things that you could literally do by one trip to Home Depot. Don't be that buyer. All right, so at this time, you and the seller have negotiated and you are all on the same page. Everything is good. At the same time, your lender should have already ordered the appraisal, which means somebody from the bank is going to go to the property and make sure that this house for $100,000 is actually worth $100,000. They're going to check the neighborhood. They're going to make sure everything looks good because, again, the bank wants to make sure that the money that they're giving you isn't going to be used to buy a money pit or a house that's going to fall apart tomorrow. This is also why I say always keep communications open with the lender. All right, so again, every few days, at least every 3 or 4 days, shoot a text message, email, call. However you normally communicate with your lender, always stay on the same page. Don't just rely on your realtor to do all the talking. Remember, this is your loan. This is the loan for your house. Always communicate with everyone. Whenever you're in doubt, don't assume, communicate. So now the final step. So we went through the entire process. We got your credit profile strengthened. You went ahead and you got in contact with a strong lender. You got your pre-approval. You got in contact with a strong realtor. You've communicated with him or her all of your dreams, everything that is on your wish list as far as priority goes. You found the right property. You went ahead and you submitted the offer. Everything came back fine. You did your inspection. You and the seller have agreed to the terms. The appraisal came back in, hopefully without any problems. Now you have received a clear to close from your loan officer. That means the bank, the underwriter, they looked through all of your information. They checked out the property. The appraisal came in right. There's no other red flags. Everything has been submitted. Now they're ready to fund the house. You're almost at the finish line. At this point, do not change anything. Do not change anything when it comes to your finances. Do not use this opportunity to quit your job. Ask me how I know that people do this. It happens. Deals fall apart literally at the final step. People think that they're out of the woods and they're really not. Do not go to the dealership and start applying for different cars. Do not make massive withdrawals or deposits to any of your accounts. Just leave everything as is. Once you're under contract and once you've given everything to the lender, just relax, just chill, just don't do anything. Just relax, you're almost there. Your realtor will communicate everything with the closing attorney or the escrow attorney. And in a few days, you're going to go to the attorney and you're going to sign all of your closing statements. It's going to be a big stack of lender papers where you're just going to be signing and dating, signing and dating. These are all of the documents that the lender is going to need, and then you're done. Sometimes it may take a day or two for them to actually fund the transaction, but after you're done signing the closing documents, they'll go ahead and they'll give you the keys. Make sure you get the front door keys, make sure you get the garage door openers, make sure don't forget about that, or anything else that might be related to the property. You sign your documents, you get your keys, and now you've done it. You've actually closed on a home. So I know that this was a lot of information. It's on YouTube. Feel free to go back and rewind or go back to any sections that wasn't super clear, but this is the entire process. Now, no two deals are the same. Every deal, there's always something that comes up. Either the appraisal comes short, or there's something that happened with the inspection, or there was an issue with the septic tank and the lender may need for that to be addressed before closing. There's always something that happens in a real estate transaction. It never goes just flat out easy. Very rarely does it ever go like super simple, nothing ever happens. But that's the reason why you have a lender. That's the reason why you have a realtor. When you have somebody that actually has been through this hundreds of times, anything that pops up, they know how to handle it. It's not going to be a big issue. There might be a delay here or there. You may have to assign some amendments to actually change the terms of the contract. But the moral of the story is, as long as you have a very good lender and you have a very good realtor and they are on the same page as you, you're going to be in good hands and you're going to be fine. All right, so that's the end of the video. You do these processes, you do these steps, go through it slowly, repeat as many times as you need, go through the content, but this is pretty much what realtors do on a day-to-day basis. At this point, you know your homework, you know what you need to be doing in order to prepare for this journey. Hopefully you got some value out of this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Don't forget to go into the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your own experiences if you recently closed on a property or if you're in the middle of the home buying process right now. I'd love to hear your feedback. That's it. That's all I got for you. I will check you out in the next video. Peace.